All right. Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of D&D Deep Dive. Today, we're actually going to be talking about the Blood Hunter because when I woke up very, very late this morning, that's the crazy hair, I woke up to the news that Mercer had made a new version of the Blood Hunter, and reading it over everything, there's enough changes to it that I consider this just a brand new class that is strikingly similar to the old one, but pretty different to the point where I would never allow both versions in a campaign. But yeah, I think it's different enough that it deserves a new D&D deep dive. I have covered the Blood Hunter and all the other subclasses of it in a couple D&D deep dive videos before. This is going to be on the brand new version. It has all four subclasses in one document. And is really, really cool. Now, but before I go any further, the reason he has released this new version of the class is to include it in the Fight Fire with Games Community Creators bundle on the DM's Guild. All proceeds of the purchase of this specific class, and if you get it, and or if you get it with the actual bundle of everything else, all proceeds of that go towards the Australian brushfire relief charities. I will have a link to the class itself in the description below if you want the full bundle. At the bottom of the description of the bundle is a link to, or of the class is a link to the full bundle. Please, 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 if you can, purchase it. It's a great cause. And I think it's a fantastic class. If you look at the full bundle, the class itself costs $8. The full bundle is 10, and you get tons of stuff in that bundle. A bunch of adventures that are really, really well reviewed. Yeah, it's great. Let's go over this new version of the class, and yeah, hopefully this won't be a 4 hour long video like my last ones have been. First things first, the class starts out with some amazing lore. The basic idea of it is blood hunters go through this rite to kind of change them so that they can hunt really bad monsters better than anyone else. So they kind of have like a Rangers style vibe with a really macabre twist to it. Rangers are really good, and they've dedicated their lives to hunting a specific kind of creature, as we discussed in the Ranger and the revised Ranger deep dives. Blood hunters take this just a step further. They not only do they have specific kinds of creatures that they're really good at taking out and hunting, but they make pretty significant sacrifices and actually change their genetic makeup, basically, in order to be the perfect killer of these particular creatures that are very, very bad. So on that note, let's talk about what this thing is. First things first, they talk about the Hunter's Bane. Right at level 1, you get Hunter's Bane and Blood Maledict, which is going to really kind of define how this class plays. And like we've talked before, any class in 5th edition should have the defining features of the class come up, show up in the first 2 levels. So, starting off right at the beginning, you have the Hunter's Bane, which is basically this ritual you go to turn into a blood hunter. Um, it uh, alters you chemically on the inside. It changes your blood. It changes your internal organs, and it lets you be a blood hunter and do all the really cool stuff they can do. Because of it, you get advantage on wisdom's survival checks to track fey, fiends, or undead, as well as on intelligence ability checks to recall information about them. So, um, that is leans real heavily into the idea of um, they're really good at killing a particular type of creature. In this case, fey, fiends, and undead, which are generally pretty. They can have really negative effects on just everything. Fiends and undead generally are just bad. Fae can sometimes be good, sometimes be bad, but even the good ones can cause bad things to happen. So, yeah, makes sense that these would be the things that they focus on. The Hunter's Bane also gives him access, gives you access to what's called Hemocraft magic, which is blood magic, and they do it in really interesting ways. So, in the Hunter's Bane section, it just talks about the Hemocraft save DC, which is 8 plus your proficiency plus intelligence. So this is going to be, because it's a fighting class and it's attack-based class, it's going to be either strength or dexterity-based and intelligence based. So kind of a unique combination. You generally don't see that outside of like Eldritch Knight fighters or wizards that multi-class into fighters or things like that. Even the Blade Singer, which is an attack-based wizard, is a more dexterity-based instead of strength. So I like this. I think it looks really interesting. I like the combination of strength and intelligence, or dexterity and intelligence. The other thing at level 2, you get Blood Maledict. We'll go over the actual maledicts at the end of this, but suffice it to say, you can use other creatures' bloods to make bad things happen to them. At level 1, you can only use it once per short or long rest. As you gain levels, you get more uses. 2 at 6, 3 at 10, and all the way up to 5 at 18. So, it starts off kind of stingy, but you're a low-level character, so it kind of makes sense. You're not going to be doing too many combats at like level 1 or 2 without taking at least a short rest. The other thing with Blood Maledicts, just like the old version, is you can just cast them or you can amplify them. And amplifying them causes you to roll a Hemocraft die, which is what they call the blood die now, and take that much damage. Now, one thing that's a big change, and we'll go into once we get to the second level as well, is it used to be when you use the Hemocraft die for your Crimson Rite, which we'll talk about in a second, it would lower your maximum hit points, and it might have done that for the Maledict. I can't remember. But it would lower your maximum hit points until you... no, it's just the Crimson Rite. That's been taken away. All that happens when you amplify a curse, you use... or a maledict. They're not blood curses. They're blood maledicts. No. If you amplify a maledict or use your Crimson Rite, you just take flat damage. So that's a change. It does make it a little easier to run. You have less to focus on. The maledicts are interesting. The other thing I like about this, which we'll again get into later, they have a specific maledict for every subclass. So each subclass gets access to their own personal maledict in addition to the other ones that they learn. So that's level 1, and we've already started to see the kind of the theme of this characters. They're really good at killing specific creatures, and they hurt themselves to hurt the enemy. And that's going to basically be the running theme of this class. Everything they do is going to either help them kill certain kinds of enemies or help them to hurt themselves to do more damage or do something. So yeah, really a give and take kind of class, one where you really have to kind of weigh your options, and I like that. I think that's really good character design when you give people abilities, but they're not so obvious that you always have to use them. Giving them pluses and minuses to it makes it a much more fun class to play. So second level, you get fighting style and Crimson Right. Fighting style is the same fighting style you see in most other things. This one only has access to 4 instead of the regular, I believe, 6. And they are archery, dueling, great weapon fighting, and 2-weapon fighting. We have covered all of these in other deep dives, so I'm not going to go into too much focus on it. But as a blood hunter, you do have proficiency in shields, so you can be a sword and board blood hunter. You can be a great weapon blood hunter. You can be a 2-weapon fighting blood hunter, and the specific or you can be a ranged blood hunter. And each one of those has a specific fighting style that will help it. So as I mentioned with the Paladin before, the Paladin had 2 fighting styles that were definitely helpful for sword and board, and then 2 other ones that were kind of useful for other things, but not always. This one, no. Whatever way you want to play it, there's a fighting style for you. Crimson Rights is the second thing you get, and this is the other defining feature of the Blood Hunter. Basically, you learn 1 primal right at level 2, and then you learn additional rights as you get higher with certain rights, the esoteric rights, being rights that you can only learn at really high levels. But the basics of them, each one just adds a different damage type to it. The way that a Crimson Right works is you activate it, you take a Hemocraft die of the damage, so at level 2, it's a D4. So let's say you're fighting, in the middle of the fight, you go, I invoke invoke my Right of the Flame. Use a bonus action to do it. You cut yourself. You take the damage, and then your attacks do additional damage that is of that damage type. So flame is fire, frozen is cold, storm is lightning. You have esoteric rights, which are the ones you can only take at real high levels, which are dead, which is necrotic, oracle, which is psychic, roar, which is the thunder damage or sound damage, which from a role-playing aspect is just cool. Could you imagine having a Warhammer that did the thunder damage? Like, you sit there and you smack them and then it goes boom, like a seismic charge or something. Like, that would be super cool. Anyway, so the Crimson Right really hasn't changed that much. Like I said, now it doesn't reduce your maximum hit points, which was a really annoying aspect of it before. Now it just does flat damage. And they last until your next short rest or long rest, or if you end your turn and are not holding the weapon. So much more simple to use, still fit into the idea of I'm going to hurt myself to do extra damage. Third level, you get to choose an order. We'll go over those in a little bit. Fourth level, you get your ability score improvement or feats. Again, with this class, you're going to have 2 different stats that you want to be pretty high depending on how you play. If you're going to be mostly attacking, you want that strength or dexterity to be really high. If you're going to be mostly using the blood maledics and the magic aspects of the class, you definitely want to put that intelligence up high. Kind of similar to how the monk has both the dex and wisdom that it wants. Really, both of those would be pretty high to play the class well. This will be similar to that, though you can lean on one or the other a little more depending on how you build the class. 5th level, you get extra attack, same basic thing. 6th level, this I believe is new. I didn't look over the old version, but it doesn't seem familiar to me. So I'm going to call it new, and if it's not, you can tell me in the comments below. It's called Brand of Castigation. But basically, at 6th level, if you hit something and do damage with a Crimson Right. So this isn't any attack you do. You have to actually do damage with your Crimson Right. So it fits into that idea of I hurt myself to do more damage. You can brand the creature as part of the attack. While the creature's branded, anytime it attacks you or a creature within 5 feet of you, it will take psychic damage equal to your intelligence modifier. And this is where you can start really trying to focus on, well, do I want to maximize? Do I want to take a lot of hits and therefore maximize intelligence? So every time they hit me, they take more and more damage. Or do I want to focus more on hitting them? Gives you a lot of options. And it's a really cool idea. You know, the thing where you can actually brand a creature and make it regret hitting you. That by definition is I take damage to hurt other creatures. And I think it's great. It lasts until you dismiss it or you apply the brand to another creature. Counts as a spell, and once you use the feature, you can't use it again until you finish a short or long rest. So it's a one-time brand that you can do, and you got to take a short or long rest to be able to use it again. It's really an interesting idea. It makes the character very much a very aggressive type character. You're going to you're going to want to be putting this character into danger, getting him hit. It specifically says each time the branded creature deals damage to you or a creature you can see within 5 feet of you, the branded creature suffers psychic damage equal to your intelligence modifier. So what that means is it doesn't have to actually attack you. It just has to do damage to you. And there are a lot of different ways a creature can do damage. A dragon could use dragon breath. They could do a fireball. They could have a fire shield on where you attack them and you take damage. All of those will trigger this brand of castigation. So it actually, in this particular instance, putting your formation in fireball, putting your players in fireball formation can actually have devastating effects to the creature. As long as they're within 5 feet of you and take damage from that creature, every single one of you will trigger the brand of castigation as it's written out. Now, this is being updated pretty quickly. Like, it is... it's only 4:30 right now. I think it was launched at like 2-ish. No, it had to be. It must have been launched like noonish or maybe to 10. Anyway, it was launched today. It's already gone through one revision, and we'll probably go through a few more because there's still little typos and stuff in it. So there's a chance that will be limited. But as it's written right now, I like the fact that it can cause multiple instances of this damage. So things like multi-attack will make it trigger more. Things like area spells where you're near a bunch of your allies will make it trigger more. This itself has the ability to really change how your entire team looks at combat. They will be less inclined to spread out to avoid area damage, and the enemies, if they're smart, will be less inclined to use area magic, because let's say you have a 20 intelligence, which is not a strange thing. If you're going to be focusing on the intelligence, if you had four friends that were all like, you guys are basically in a cross formation, and get hit by a fireball, and all of you get at least damaged. Um, you don't have to take full damage. You could all make your saves and only take a half damage. Um, but all of you take damage. That would be 5 people times 5. That would be 25 damage that caster takes just for attacking you guys. Like I said, this is kind of a game changer style thing, and because it's limited to only once per short or long rest, it's something that you really have to make a choice of. Is this going to be beneficial here? Is it going to be beneficial anywhere? It can only affect one creature. So it doesn't feel overpowered, but it does give you a really good choice about where you want to use it and when you want to use it. So I like that. Then the 9th level, you get Grim Psychometry. It's the exact same as it was before. Basically, you can touch an object, make an intelligence history check to recall bad stuff that happened to it. It only works on the things that have been around evil, but yeah, it does fit into that I hunt certain creatures better. This is an information gathering the thing, and I've always liked it, even in the previous version, because that idea of preparing for a fight is not something you see in a lot of classes, where preparing for the fight will change how difficult the fight is, beyond just not getting, not getting ambushed, or maybe drinking a fire resistance potion or something. Like, I like that planning aspect. Dark Augmentation is another one that I think is a little different, a new one. 10th level. Speed increases by 5 feet, and whenever you make a strength, dex, or cons save, you get a bonus to the saving throw equal to your intelligence modifier, which is awesome. So even and now, not only can you use intelligence for your aggressive stuff, now it starts to become something that acts as a defense as well, because dex saves are crazy common. Con saves are pretty common as well. So both of those, getting your intelligence modifier added to them, is fantastic. It's basically like getting proficiency in these trainings if your intelligence modifier is high enough. So that's great. Extra speed's great as well. 13th level, you get Brand of Tethering. This is an upgrade to your Brand of Castigation. Instead of just doing damage equal to your intelligence modifier, it does damage equal to twice your intelligence modifier. So remember that thing I talked about before, where if there was 5 of you in a cross formation, guy would take 25 damage to hit all of you. Now it's 50 damage, which is a lot of damage, especially for a caster. So yeah, really interesting, game changing. In addition, branded creatures can't take the dash actions, and if they attempt to teleport via spell, ability, portal, anything that would teleport them, they have to make they take psychic damage, 46 psychic damage, and they have to make a wisdom save. And if they fail, they don't teleport, even if it's a portal or something. This really fits well into that I hunt things really well. If you use this brand of castigation and now on a creature that you need to kill, like for example the Rakshasa or Rakshasa from the first season of Critical Role, it tried to escape. With this, it wouldn't, or it would have been very difficult for it to escape from that combat. So I really like that. I think, again, it's another really cool thing. It doesn't give you more uses of the ability, which would kind of make it a little overpowered. Just makes it more powerful for when you do use it. 14th level, You have advantages on saving throws against being charmed and frightened, which for a 14th level ability is pretty underpowered, seen as you already have races that get that right at level 1 in that, so that is, it's okay. I would have liked to see maybe a more role-playing focused 14th level of ability, something that doesn't give you a combat bonus, but something that would be nice. But whatever, it's not a bad thing. And then 20th level, you get Sanguine Mastery, which I think is super cool. So once per turn, when you roll a Hemocraft die for any reason, as long as you're rolling a Hemocraft die, that might be to do damage to activate your rights. It might be to amplify. There it goes. Wow, I could not remember the word amplify. Could be to amplify a maledict. It could be the damage you do with your Crimson Right. Anything once per turn, you can re-roll it and take and choose which results to use. Now you're limited to once per turn, so again, it gives you a choice. If you roll really high on your damage to invoke your Crimson Right, maybe you want to re-roll that, or maybe you want to hold on to that re-roll and re-roll it when you make the attack. So if you roll a 1 on it, you can improve it to maybe a 6 or a 7. The Hemocraft gets all the way up to a D10 at 20. So yeah, that's really useful. In addition to being able to re-roll, and this is what makes it a 20th level of ability, whenever you score a critical hit with a weapon attack and powered by your Crimson Right, you regain 1 expended use of your Blood Maledict feature, which is awesome. A lot of these maledicts are really powerful and really useful, and the limitations placed on them are really the deciding factor of when to use them and not. And with the idea that you can now get those back with crits, definitely a good idea to use them more often and just have a lot of fun as a Blood Hunter. So that's the Blood Hunter itself. Like I said before, I'm going to try and make these deep dives a little bit shorter. So for this episode specifically, I'm going to go ahead and end it right here. And then in the next episode, we're actually going to go through the orders themselves. And you know what? I'm actually going to do the Blood Maledicts in the next one as well, because again, each maledict has a specific ones that are specifically for each order as well. So we'll do the maledicts in the next episode, but this should give you at least a good idea of how to play it. And I'm going to record the next episode right after this one, so it will go up sometime today. But yeah, hopefully this shorter version's a little bit easier to digest. If you guys have any questions or anything like that, but put them in the comments down below. If you have a specific version, thing that you would like to see me cover in a D&D deep dive, put that in the comments below as well. Also, I will say this again. This is on sale in the DMs Guild. The link is in the description below. Please go there, buy buy the class or buy the bundle. Help these charities that are helping to deal with the Australian brush fires. They have been devastating to Australia. So please click on the link, buy it. Like I said, the class itself is only $8, and the bundle itself is only 10. And you get like $150 worth of stuff in it. So it's a great deal, helps a great cause, but please help out. Otherwise, that's all for me right now, and I will see you guys in the next video. All right? Bye-bye!